Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast. Oilerslive podcast.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here, Oilers Live, for a exciting Thursday edition. This is a rare Thursday edition, so if you're tuning in, welcome. This is a special treat. We've got Patrick at Oilers Fanatic joining us, Ryan Lotsberg. I don't even know. Can we call you guests anymore on with us every week? Dash will be joining in at some point tonight. We're going to talk some Oilers hockey. One more game for the long break. Avs are in Calgary tonight, and they're in Edmonton tomorrow night before we kick off the what's it called? Four Nations Face-Off? What's it called? Yeah. Are you excited about the Four Nations?
A little bit, not overly. To be honest,
I'm not losing sleep over it.
I mean, like, at first when they announced it, I was pretty excited. But there's a couple things. One is I keep thinking there's no Russia, right? Like, I know why. We all know why. But without Russia, it's never going to be best on best, right? You don't get to see one of the best players in the world, Leon Draisaitl, because obviously Germany's not there. There's a lot of good teams that aren't there. But because it's NHL players, obviously we can only fill so many nations, right?
Yeah.
I'll probably get into it if the Canadian team's doing well and it gets close to the final. But it's really kind of I don't know. I'm not. You're right. Losing sleep is a weird one, but I'm not going to be losing sleep. That's for sure. Yeah. Bill Mills says, "Good evening, heavy hockey." I think that's a testament to my weight. Just curious if any of you have any sort of update on Kane. I imagine Evander Kane and hey Patrick. So Bill Mills, longtime Patrick fan, asks if you've heard anything about Evander Kane. Have you heard anything?
Last we heard was he was on the ice last week or the week before, but other than that, we were supposed to get another update for him around Four Nations. So I think we're going to find out something more soon. But as of now, it just looks like he's not going to be back till playoffs, but nothing completely official on that just yet.
Yeah. Lotsy, you heard any different?
I heard anything different. We saw the Instagram post with Kane on the ice in a tracksuit, which was likely one of the first times, if not the first time, he's been on the ice since he had his surgery, plural, with the knee. Yes, Dan Bowman indicated that they would have a better sense of where he's at prior to the Four Nations, which we're at now, essentially. I don't know if we are going to be privy to that update as the general public, but Bowman may have a little more intel. I think we'll have a better sense at the trade deadline. To be honest, we're at the point now where if we're going to add anybody, then Kane's probably not coming back. But if If they don't add anybody, or if it's dollar in, dollar out, then it's 50-50.
Yeah, we're getting close to the deadline, right?
Another
I think,
month?
What, 29 days? Is that what it is? 29?
30 somewhere, 29, 30 somewhere in there.
Yeah.
March
29, I
7th.
think. Yeah. March 7th. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we're there. Jeff Skinner being showcased on the top 6. Obviously, we're going to talk about that at some point tonight. Yeah, it looks really different for the Oilers as we go into the thing. There's Oilers fanatics in the chat. Wow. Here I thought he'd be listening to me, but no such luck.
Multitasking. Come on.
Yeah. He's our biggest chat guy, Oilers fanatic. Wait a second, he's on the show. It's like he's asking himself questions. Hey, Patrick, he is Bill Mills. Hey, Patrick, I'm your biggest fan. Let's see, Oilers fanatic. He's always typing. We think he's checking out what the latest trade rumors are, but
well, if I'm going to keep all these different accounts going, I got to double.
he's got a burner just for Oilers Live. Nice. Which shirt you got on there? You got the YEG.
Draisaitl backhand sauce.
Nice. Draisaitl was leading the stats briefly, and McKinnon's playing tonight. So the big thing going into the break, obviously, McKinnon versus Draisaitl. No idea what you guys are laughing about.
You have to multitask. Keep an eye on the chat there, Michael.
No. Geez. Oh, yeah. There you go.
Don't worry about it.
Stuart Skinner. Hey, folks.
Just host.
Sorry for being late. We're always late here. It's all good.
If you're not late, you ain't cool. Yeah.
Mr. Dash, how you doing?
Coming in hot. It's been a week today. So, I don't know. I was out of the house at 5 in the morning, and we all do this on Teams and Zoom and Skype every day, but not me. I had a breakfast at 7, a brunch at 9, a lunch at 10 or 12, and 2 afternoon meetings, and just got back from a dinner one. So life's a blur. I feel like it's Saturday, and I feel like I could probably fold myself up like a 4th grade love letter right now.
At least you're well fed today.
This is true. This is true.
That's right.
As I undo my top button here. No, it's been good. I, caught bits and pieces of last night's game, most of it by now, I think, and all the good parts. So looking forward to chatting with it and chatting with you guys about it. Yeah.
Wasn't it Jeff Skinner's best game as an Oiler?
Well, I heard 3 people say it last night, and you're one of them.
Jeff Skinner's best game as an Oiler. Every game really is Jeff Skinner's best game as an Oiler. We'll talk about that tonight, obviously. Oilers 2 overtime wins back-to-back, right? Looking, I'd say a little bit tired going into last game.
Especially last night, yeah.
Yeah, perhaps maybe one of the few times that I've seen them look that tired. And but it just tells you about the level of skill this team has, right?
Or the lack of skill Chicago has.
Yeah, there's a bit of that too. Absolutely. Although Bedard's doing all right. They brought up a good point for Bedard. You haven't had a first-round guy like that without a Draisaitl or without a Malkin or without a, he's doing it alone. He's got nobody. He had Corey Perry briefly. But that's been it, right?
They showed that stat last night during the game that in the last 2 years, he's had 120 of the team's points, and there's a couple guys at 60 and Seth Jones at 55. There's no comparison. I don't know what Hall's totals would have been before he was traded out, but probably not much more or less. Yeah, I don't know.
Bryce the Sparky says, hey, guys, just signed up for the heavy hockey game this week. Super excited to have you, Bryce. By the way, we're full. I haven't announced that yet. Well, we're full with the exception we need a goaltender. We need one goaltender. Otherwise, we're playing posts. No, we'll get a goalie. I'm not worried about a goalie. I mean, push comes to shove, we can rent a goalie, but we'll find a goalie. So if you're a goalie out there listening today, we're gonna find a goalie.
Push comes to shove. I don't know if you guys remember Savage that played on Team EST last year, and you might remember him from such times as beating the wheels off of me and not letting me get a punch in. That Savage that scored like 7 goals against us.
Yeah,
that guy. You remember Savage? He's a goalie, actually.
But he can, if he wants to play, he can play.
He's a goalie.
I don't remember half the guys on my own team.
Well, if you'd let me finish, he's a goalie.
Good. Well, let's get him in. Sign him up. Let's go.
Anyways, I just thought it was maybe, something to look forward to, or some motivation for Bob the goalie, who is definitely a sub-average forward, but a goalie on the other team scored most of their goals and was their best player.
Well, I can tell you when it comes to hockey chat, goalies act like they know everything about hockey. So
just ask Bob.
There is nothing worse than the at the boards intermission chat where the goalie's telling you how to play defense or telling you how to play forward. And oh man, some goalies are worse than others, but
Noodles made a career of it.
Yeah. Now Rudy too. Yeah. I mean, I get it. You're in net the whole night. Like all you do is watch the play, right? Like, I guess you get a different view of the game. Patrick, what'd you play? What's your spot? Or did you play much hockey?
I didn't play much. No. I was a soccer player.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah. No.
We can edit that out later. Yeah.
So about the same as you then, Michael.
Yeah, just like me. Just like me.
Yeah, you're a good lacrosse player, hockey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And Ryan, I mean, he doesn't play anymore. This is his comeback game tonight. This in March, right? Have you found any
some time off the train here?
Yeah, that's right. That's what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Forced time
For
off.
those of you that don't know,
I hear it.
Lotsberg's,
No. Don't pull back the curtain. No. That is not your story to tell, Michael. I know you're the host. We keep that curtain closed. Don't worry about Lotsy.
Lotsy's a bad man. Very bad man. We've got 4 officials on the ice for the Heavy Hockey Showdown, so they're watching you, Lotsy. They know.
Sounds like that's going to be a good thing.
They've got the word out on you. That's right. Flames Calgary, Colorado winning 3-1. Colorado and Edmonton, of course, tomorrow night. Is it in Edmonton? I keep saying it's in Edmonton.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they're in Calgary tonight, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it is in Edmonton. Nate just looks good. I mean, I'm not too surprised, like playing with McKinnon, that Nate just would look good. He obviously he's had a couple of games without any points, but you saw tonight he had some really good chances. Dustin Wolf's a hell of a goalie, I'll tell you that. The guy moves pretty slick. Fun to watch, except for the jersey. Other than that, fun to watch. Cale Makar, too. Love watching that guy play hockey. I'm a big fan of good hockey players. I don't always have to like the team they play for, but enjoy watching Cale Makar play. The guy moves the puck around so well and just, anyway, I hated playing him in the playoffs. I mean, he was just unreal, which we'll have to talk about that because right now, as it sits, the Oilers would be playing Colorado in the first round. How do you guys feel about that?
Not too worried about it, to be totally honest.
Who would you rather play?
Depends what kind of moves they make.
Who would you guys rather play? LA. Yeah, I'd like an LA series. Is this the year the Oilers win the division?
The way Vegas is
It's
going.
been their best shot at it, for sure.
That's
Yeah,
trending in the
Vegas
right
has been
direction.
anything but consistent this year, right? Like they'll go, you know,
Oh,
10-0 and then 1-9 the next the next 10, right? Like it's just crazy. They're 3,
yeah,
4,
they've
and
only won
3.
3 out of their last
Yeah.
11. Yeah, 3, 4, and 3, and I think 1 of their last 7 road games.
Yeah, they've been less than spectacular of late. Machine Gun Janmark says this is a different Avs team. Oilers got him. Calgary's defense is atrocious. Michael Kerber said I'd be worried about the Avs. Truth is, I'd be worried about the
Depends
Avs
what-
or the Flames. Neither of them are going to be you're not going to walk over either of them. The Flames, only because I've said this time and time again, are maybe the hardest working team in the league right now. You know, and good goaltending can sometimes get you through a first round, right?
Not 7 games against the Oilers.
I mean,
no, not a
I'd
chance.
still take the Oilers for sure, but I'd be, you know, it's like when they were supposed to walk over the Avs. How many years ago, and the Avs swept them, right, with Mike Smith. Yeah.
I mean, you're saying there's a chance, but it's like Lloyd Christmas with Mary Swanson. You know, like there's little to none. And I don't care. Not over 7 games. You're not letting. If I had my first choice, it'd be Calgary. And I think that's just peripheral fun that comes along with beating the crap out of that franchise right now. Last time we beat them in the playoffs, they've had to retool their whole team for it. You know, LA seems to be a free square on the bingo card right now, but you know, even when Dallas used to beat us up every year after year, we finally got them once. You know, so I don't know. There's a little bit of that. They've been playing really well and consistent this year as well. Colorado, this isn't your dad's Colorado, that's for sure. I think, but the biggest question mark, and
Is
what
your
nobody's
dad only a
mentioned,
few years
it depends
older
what
than
they
you?
do.
Like this isn't my dad's Colorado. They weren't even around.
I was just trying to quote whatever they said in the chat. What did he say? Machine gun, it's not your who's
It's a
Colorado.
different Avs team, I think, is what he said.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah. I told you I was tired. Get off my back and let me finish my point.
Wow, your dad had you young.
Are you
Go
done?
for it. Go for it.
Are you
Go
sure?
for it.
Do you want to talk about my dad again? All right. So the biggest question mark here is what's Colorado going to do? What's Colorado going to do? This could be a completely different team now from that one that makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? If that's Landeskog, if that's, you know, Sidney Crosby, whatever. It's not happening, but, you know, a lot of things can change there. So ultimately, we're the Edmonton Oilers. I fully expect us to get back to the finals. We should be the best team in the West against any team over 7 games. Bottom line, drop the mic.
I wouldn't mind beating Vancouver again with Demko in that. Just so we can say we beat them with Demko.
Well, we sent them into a half rebuild. We might as well Calgary them and send them into a full rebuild.
Vancouver.
Humble, aren't I? Modest. That's what I always get
Lotsy,
called.
what do you got for us?
Perhaps my statement on Colorado was a little casual earlier. Not that I wouldn't be worried about them. I mean, they got game breakers in McKinnon and McCarr. Nikash is a good fit with them so far. Like, he's just different than Rantanen. Like, he likes to carry the puck through the zone with a lot of speed, whereas Rantanen's more puck protection, find his spots and shoot. But they're not deep. Right, they don't have a ton after that top line, and like they'll open it up for you. And I like the Oilers in a track meet just as good as any team. So like I think the depth lines of the Oilers would get some of the depth lines of the Avalanche. The Avs could get by on, like, if Blackwood could steal a series and if McKinnon takes it over, but I just don't see the Oilers folding like that.
I mean, the Oilers have been the best team since beginning of March, or November rather. Beginning of March too, maybe. If you go back that far. Not
It is
including
February, isn't it?
not including one game. Not including one game. The Oilers have been the best team. No, but
I kind of want to change my answer. I think I want Vancouver.
Just because it'd be funny.
I'm with Patrick. Yeah, just how great it would be. You know, like, I don't know. Machine Guns in the chat again, too, right? They traded their best forward. Not only their best forward, dude, they traded their whole backbone. Like, any team that wants to ride a guy named Petey that weighs 160 pounds and runs away from every bit of contact he can to carry you to the Stanley Cup, I wish you all the best.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to make it. As much as I'd love,
they keep selling at the deadline too. Like, if they sell anymore, they're really not making it.
Pedersen and Hughes couldn't spell grind on playing Scrabble. Like, it's just not the. Hughes is a great defenseman, but it's not the guy I want carrying me in the playoffs. I don't think for 7 games for 4 rounds.
Well, I disagree there. I mean, Hughes is pretty odd.
Call me crazy.
Hughes is a hell of a defenseman. If we could get him on the team,
I didn't say that. Yeah,
he's not going to carry a whole team, and we've seen that this year, right? Like, he's just, you can't have one guy. You got to have some. If that were the case, I mean, we would have won with Connor McDavid years ago, right? Like, he's.
I mean it from the perspective of, like, Matthias Ekholm's probably never going to win a Norris Trophy, but if you want me to pick a defenseman, Quinn Hughes or Matthias Ekholm, that I want to go through 25 games of war with, I'm taking Ekholm every time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I was good. What did you guys think of that penalty he took the other night? Was it a penalty? It was a good hit.
No.
Drove me nuts because that was maybe one of the nicer hits we've had all season for the Oilers, and the guy ends up in the box, and you wonder why we don't hit, right? I think the ref was just surprised. He's like, "Oh, wait a second."
That was our only hit that game. We got a penalty for it.
That was our only hit in 10 games. You got called for it. That's what you call, like, learning.
Nobby's on the bench like, "Whoa, boys, he's up here. Save it for the postseason. Kane's coming back. Don't worry."
Yeah.
What do you think of Nobby's use of Skinner, guys? I mean, obviously putting him in the right spot at the right time. We can talk later on in the segment about where you think he deserves to be in the lineup. So, maybe leave that alone for now. But, I think Skinner's been working hard in practice from what I understand, and really trying to, get back in the graces on his defensive side of the game. And he created a goal off of a defensive play last night. You got to give him credit there. And, I thought it was a good time for Knobloch to give him a shot where he did, and it paid off.
Yeah. Well, I think he's actually making him a better hockey player right now. I can't remember who it was, but I read it on Twitter earlier today. Is like, maybe this was the best move to give Jeff Skinner tough love, and it's actually bringing out the best in him, because he knows if he doesn't play strong defensively, he's not moving up. And I think the spot he's in right now is a reward for the hard work that Chris Knobloch's seen from him the last few games. So, seems to be working out for him.
Yeah, I think that's. Go ahead, Lotsie.
Sorry, Michael. I'll give Knobloch a lot of credit if he was playing the long game the whole time, and he was willing to be patient and just keep burying him on the fourth line until he learned the lesson. And with all the healthy scratches too, like, this isn't just a regular player. This is a primetime player that you're not just the GM, but the CEO of the team signed to be a big time addition in the top 6. But you spent 50 some odd games burying him in the bottom 6 and healthy scratching him in and out of the lineup, and it's starting to pay dividends. So, like, if that's what Knobloch is doing, that's the strat. He's got the balls to do that in his second year as a head coach, and this after benching Leon Draisaitl for a shift, I guess, earlier in the season. Like, good on him. Like, I wrote the article calling him out for just not trusting Skinner and letting that bias seep in, but maybe he was playing the long game all along, and I should give him more credit than that.
Yeah, but
turns out Draisaitl's produced not bad since then.
I feel like he's been okay since then.
I mean, you can't associate it with one bench shift. And you can't associate. I don't think. I just think it's bullshit. Jeff Skinner's 32 years old. He's learned all the lessons he's going to learn, right? Like I don't think he's. Quaddy said it here. Last 12 games, he's been outscored 8-2 when on the ice, right? Like, I think. Look, like this is the point of the season right now where guys are looking tired. You got to put them up to the top 6, right? Like this, we talked about it. The Oilers look tired, but at 32
Right.
years old, Jeff Skinner's learned all the lessons he's going to learn. Knobloch's not playing no long game, right? Like you got. There's one Jeff Skinner now at 32. He's not learning any new tricks, right? He looked good. I think he should have been played in the top 6 all year, but no.
Okay, well, after I said let's not talk about whether they belong in the top 6 or the bottom 6, and you did now, I'm going to segue into not necessarily call me crazy for the rest of the show, but at least this part of it. All right, you guys, we've been talking about this in the private chat a little bit. We've kind of probably already know our opinions on where we feel Jeff Skinner should be playing, and I'll just put a caveat out there that I'm not even sure I believe in my own statement here. But that all said, my phone just died. Oh, that blows everything. All right. I had all the stats written down and I don't have them memorized. So that sucks. But ultimately, when you looked at expected goals for, goals per 60, plus minus, and what was the other one? There's another stat in there, but he was out of the 12 Oilers forwards, he was either 10th or 11th in every single category. Like his possession matrix have been awful. As Quaddy mentioned, even though he looked like he had a good game, he's still been outscored 8-2 over the last 12. He's got the worst plus minus on the team. We could probably throw Lotzie up on the top line with McDavid for a game and pull a goal and an assist out of him every once in a while. So I think my statement is this: call me crazy, but that was a fluke, and Jeff Skinner should be in the bottom 6 for the rest of the season. Patrick?
I don't think it was a fluke. I think he belongs in the top 6. I think that's where he should have been the whole year too. I mean, I think he was a bit of a victim of the slow start for the team, and then he didn't really have Chris Knobloch's confidence right off the start, and Podkolzin looked great. He was playing with Draisaitl. Draisaitl wanted him there, and then all these factors worked against Jeff Skinner early on, but I think the work he's put in lately, and Quaddy actually corrected himself in the chat there too. Jeff Skinner's not being outscored; he's outscoring. So he's actually doing really good.
Yeah.
So I think Jeff Skinner should be in the top 6 for sure.
Ryan?
I'll call you crazy on this one too. I'm with Patrick. Jeff Skinner is a top 6 scoring winger, right? That's his game plan. That's his MO. That's where he fits best on our given roster. He's not a checker. He's not gonna grind guys into the walls, right? He's gonna take the puck. He's gonna put it in the back of the net. And he needs to be put in a position to do that. And beside Leon Draisaitl is a pretty good position to be able to do that. So I think he had a pretty short leash at the start of the year, even though he scored two of the team's first 3 goals of the year in those losses that they had. I think he was unfairly the scapegoat in that scenario. He got another little bit of I think it was an 8-game run in the top 6 after McDavid got hurt and a little bit when he came back. That didn't go great, but Skinner had lost his confidence by then, and he didn't have Knobloch's trust at that point. But a credit to Knobloch for working with him and getting his defensive game where he wants it, and for actually giving him an opportunity again, right? That's the big thing. If you're going to do that to a guy and try to have certain expectations of him, well, you got to give him a chance if he meets those expectations. And Skinner's doing it right now, and he's getting the chance. So I think I want to see him up there for an extended run now. Let's see if he's really learned, or if it was just a fluke. Let's let it play out.
Lots, you've watched a million hours of hockey. We all have on this podcast. Have you ever seen anybody move in and out of space as uniquely as he does around the net? Like his ability and his hockey IQ to find the area in the open space and in these little ways. I don't know. Have you ever seen anything like it? You think it's completely unique, or just,
It's definitely a skill.
the figure
It's
skating?
definitely a skill of his. Like just the way he can use his edges. He does the 10-2 mohawk turn, whatever you want to call it. But he's got poise with the puck in front of the net too. Like that finish against Chicago last night. Like a lot of guys get that puck and they're shooting it right away, but nope, he's corralling it, taking it forehand and going top shelf where grandma keeps the cookies. So that it was a nice finish, and not a lot of guys have that level of hands and that level of composure in front of the net.
Yeah, well said. Okay, Michael, you started this off, and I would left you till last so you could have the last word on it. I know you're going to call me crazy, so
Yeah,
you can say that whenever. But I'd just like to say this. I've heard from Tommy, I've heard from Rashog on his podcast. Jeff Skinner has not pouted one iota this season. He has taken every healthy scratch, every minute of practice, every optional practice, staying late, and never once shown a scowl on his face this entire time. So, like I said, I'm not sure I believe my own statement, but call me crazy, Michael.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Like every time you see Skinner, he's got a smile on his face. Like, guy who's getting healthy is scratched, and he still looks like he wants to be here. Or be
It's a
in
lot
Edmonton.
better than Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, that might just be it, right? Like who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, he's a top 6 guy. That's what he is. If you're not playing him in the top 6, you're not using him correctly. And I mean, Knobloch obviously knows what he's doing, but I think at this point in time, and he's got to put him there. He has to. I think you got to figure out what you got in Jeff Skinner at least before the deadline, right? Like if you got a top 6, and he hasn't spent enough time there. But last night, like Lotzi, you're 100% right. Like those are clutch goal scorers goals right there, right? Like that's a goal scorers type of goal. You're not getting that out of Arvidsson this year. It's like I wouldn't put Arvidsson there because he's, and then you got Podkolzin. The two of them weren't scoring, right? Like I love Podkolzin. He's bumping and he's grinding, but you need a guy like Skinner to start putting the puck in the net. He could be Draisaitl's Hyman, right? Like that's the kind of he might not score 50 goals in a season, but he could really start to. And he just when he comes in the lineup, he scores goals, right? Like he's doing all right for a guy that's sat about 6 games, right? So yeah, top 6 or nothing in my mind, and find out what you got at least before the deadline and do something with it.
My explanation point on all of that, and great points, Michael, as always, but my explanation point on all of that is I think the reason we don't have Brandon Saad is the organization's confidence in the progress that Jeff Skinner was making. Right? I think that was kind of everybody's gut reaction and knee-jerk reaction. Patrick, I know it was yours. As soon as Brandon Saad was a possibility, well, we got to get rid of somebody, and we can't give up on Skinner yet. Right? So we hadn't, and I think that's probably why he's not here. You guys want to go talking about the games, or you want to just me keep going on Call Me Crazy and have some fun? What do you think? All right. Well, Michael, and I think Quaddy may have done it first. He looked a lot better than Arvidsson did, Machine Gun, yep, out on Arvidsson. Well, great segue, boys, because look, I know Arvidsson scored a beauty last night. That's a goal scorer's goal. None of us could ever score that goal. Good on him. Call me crazy, but I think Arvidsson needs to start getting scratched. Michael?
I can't argue with that. I mean, it's like there was a stretch of 4 or 5 games where I was loving Arvidsson, and then outside of that, he reminds me of Yamamoto when he wasn't getting points anymore, right? Like there's a guy that he's got the puck and he's doing all sorts of twists and turns and making you dizzy, and looks great, but not a lot of show for it at the end of the game. And that's where we are with Arvidsson. This is like, he scored more than Brown did last year, but it's Brown 2.0 in a little bit, right? Like you just expect more out of a guy, especially for $4 million.
Yep. Ryan, call me crazy.
the rare occasion where I'm not gonna call you crazy here. And I don't know if scratch is necessarily the way I'd go. I wouldn't be opposed to it because this team is deep enough where you can get away with scratching a guy that you're expecting to be in the top six. But this is similar to what we've been going through with Skinner. It's a little different because Arvy's a little bit better defensively than Skinner always has been. But it's a big name free agent signing, and he just hasn't lived up to the expectation. Right, the point production just hasn't been there. And he came back from his injury, and he had a little bit of a streak there where he was putting up some points, but that's dissipated again. And they gave him all the time he needed to heal. So I think he should be in a better place. I mean, I'm not in his body, so I don't know, right? Like, I don't know what he's going through, but something's got to give there for sure. And this guy became available for a reason this summer, right? The Kings were willing to let him walk for a reason. 32-year-old coming off an injury-plagued season where his troublesome back was giving him issues. That's all I got on it. He was available for a reason. So yeah, absolutely wouldn't be upset if he was to sit a game or two.
Yeah, I don't know. The Kings also let Kempe go. So, I think Arvidsson probably, this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyways, or maybe make like this hypothetical statement. But like, I'm not sure we really got Arvidsson for the regular season. Like, of course, you get all your players for the regular season. Arvidsson plays a very, very different style in the playoffs than he does in the regular season. I think if he played that style that he plays in the playoffs every regular season, he'd be twice as broken as he already is. Great comparison with Yamo Michael. I'm not sure why I've never put that together in my brain, but yeah, like a water bug all over the ice and spinning and diving and, spends more time down there than Taylor Hall and Hartnell combined. Injury prone, still gritty for their size. All said, not a lot of production for it. Arvidsson's had his time, maybe hot, maybe past his due. Doesn't change my mind that he needs to be scratched. Patrick, call me crazy.
No, I'm not going to call you crazy. I think we're scratching Jeff Skinner. What's the difference with scratching Victor Arvidsson? They're both key free agent signings. One guy's making $1 million more, but if you're not producing, if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, then yeah, like heck, well, Victor Arvidsson scored last game. That didn't help Jeff Skinner much. So yeah, he could be scratched next game. It didn't really seem to matter for Jeff Skinner when he produced. He still got scratched. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to get scratched tomorrow, but yeah, I don't think he should be immune from it at all. And also to your point as well for the playoffs, I think we are going to see a different Victor Arvidsson in the playoffs. He probably is a guy that we got more for the postseason, but still, it's an 82-game regular season, so you got to show up then too. And he's battled injuries and yeah, like Yamamoto. So yeah, but he certainly should not be immune to being scratched for sure.
All right. Maybe I'm not crazy. The next one, I think, will be a pretty hot topic. It seems to always be, no matter what the game is, no matter what the week is, no matter what the month is. It's just this year's whooping boy. I don't think I have to really give him too much of an introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Bouchard. Look, I put out a poll on Twitter. I could give you the exact numbers, but my phone died. I said, what position in the Norris Trophy voting at the end of this season, or if the season ended now, pardon me, is the way I worded it, what position would Evan Bouchard get in the Norris Trophy winning? 20-some% said top 5. 30-some% said 5 to 10. 20-some% said outside of the top 10. 20-some% said out of the running completely. Patrick's probably checking my math right now, given his eyes dancing. Not sure it matters.
But yeah,
what's that?
You were pretty close.
All right.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, that says that probably half of the voters said that he's a top 10 defenseman in the league. Right? He was top 5 in Norris voting last year. He's broken Paul Coffey's records. He's absolutely dominated in the last 2 postseasons when it mattered, when it counted. He led the last 2 postseasons in points by defenseman. He led the last 2 postseasons in plus minus. He is, proving to be the quarterback of choice for the best power play in the history of the league. I'll save some of the stats because I know Lotsy's wrote an article on this, and I don't want to steal some thunder here, but he's in the tops of the league in, I don't know, what do you call it, Ryan? Non-giveaways, the good side of giveaways per 60. He's one of the top 10 most accurate outlet passers in the league by statistics. My statement is this: Evan Bouchard deserves more than $10 million a year on his next contract. Lotsy, you're up.
And with the cap going up the way it is, 10 million seems very reasonable. Yeah, so I'll agree with you here. I won't call you crazy. So, I did the piece earlier in the week, and I was talking at Bouchard. I think he's sitting at the time of writing, he was 5th in total giveaways, but guys like Nathan McKinnon and Nikita Kucherov were ahead of him. And there were some high-end defensemen that were nipping on his heels. And I also broke it down by giveaways per 60, which there was a long list of D who were either in front of him or right at his heels. And it's a star-studded list, I'll tell you. But when you're an elite player and you've got the puck on your stick more often, you're going to give it away more often. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. That's just the way it is. But something that I saw later in the week, before or after I wrote the article, I wish I would have seen sooner. But it was somebody put a graphic out from Sport Logic saying that Bouchard was 5th in the league in turnover percentage, which you take the turnovers and you divide them by the number of times you touch the puck. Right. So what percentage of the time are you giving it away when you touch it? Bouchard is 5th in the league, the 5th lowest rate in the league. So
wow.
that tells you something. He's doing So a lot of the giveaways he has had, he does it in poor situations and at inopportune times. And compared to other defensemen on the Oilers, he does give up the high danger chances at a more frequent rate, and you see that reflected in some of the underlying numbers. And even when guys are playing with Bush, you see that in their numbers as a pairing. But he's doing a lot of really amazing things out there. Like, if you give that guy up, you're immediately regretting it, begging for a guy like that on your team. If he wants 10 million, fine. If he wants 11 million with the cap going up the way it is, I'm okay with it. Just get that guy signed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a top 10 defenseman. At least 100 people that voted in the poll, like I said, half of them said he's a top 10 defenseman. I'm shocked, honestly, that you agree with me of all people. I'm also shocked that most of the people coming in on the chat also agree with me. Michael Kerber saying, I think Bouchard gets 10.5 to 10.8. Buddy, that's exactly where I'd put him right now. Maybe even 11, but the 10.9, I don't know. Quaddy, if we can keep him under 10, it's a bargain. Like, honestly shocked you guys agree with me. There's so many people out there that don't even think he deserves $7 million a year. And I've said it 100 times. I think Bouchard, when he self-load manages, really exposes himself like no other player, which makes him have, seemingly stupid mistakes sometimes that in inopportune times. But honestly, I think he deserves 10 million a year. Michael, call me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just everything says 10 plus, right? If a guy, you're playing on D, if you do a giveaway, obviously it doesn't turn out well, right? Like, anytime the D man gives the puck away, it's not going to turn out well. And to your point, Ryan, like, I didn't realize that's a great stat, by the way, the amount of touches he has to giveaways. That doesn't surprise me either, right? Like, the amount of times though he walks in with the puck and just amazes me and gets in there and makes things happen. The overtime winner, we give all the credit to McDavid on that play to Connor Brown, but Bouchard makes a beautiful play to get it to McDavid. Like, there's only a couple of defensemen in the league that can do that, and Bouchard's one of them. And yeah, I mean, you got to pay what you got to pay, and it's going to be over 10. He's worth every penny as far as comparing him. He's if he's not a top 5 D man, which I believe he is, he's at least a top 10 D man, which puts him in the top pairing on any team in the league, right? So yeah, it's over 10.
And I went and looked at the top 10 highest paid defensemen in the league. You know, we got Carlson at 11.5. I think it's Doughty at 11. I don't remember the order of everybody else. We all know Nurse is in there, but it goes all the way down to whatever, Cale Makar and Dougie Hamilton or something like that at 9 million. You know, so you have to take that the cap going up factor, multiply probably by 0.1 or whatever you want to do. And I think that just automatically makes them a 10 million plus defenseman. And I think he deserves it. Patrick, call me crazy.
I'm not going to call you crazy. He's the kind of guy, if for whatever stupid reason we let him go, we'd be spending 3 first-round picks and prospects trying to find another guy just like him. He's the guy, you've drafted him, you've developed him, you've got Paul Coffey here working with him. Yeah, I don't want to pay him $15 million, but pay him 10 to 11. I don't want to go much higher than, like the 10.5, I think Michael was saying there. That's probably in the right range. I think you were saying that too, Dash. That's probably right where you want him. And I saw someone mention there that maybe, I think it was Machine Gun Yanmark, that Stauffer was saying that maybe they do a 2-year bridge if they really were in that Mikko Rantanen sweepstakes there. But we'll see if that actually comes to pass. But yeah, I think he's definitely worth 10 to 11 million, and he's definitely a guy you want to keep on your team and pay him what you got to pay him to keep him, because you're going to be spending so many assets trying to replace him if you let him go.
Yeah, I mean, I've given you all my opinion on why I think Mikko Rantanen would be a terrible ad for the Edmonton Oilers, and it's not because you don't want a player like that on your team. You just don't want to pay a guy that can't push the river and run his own line, that's going to take $13 million and not play on your power play. I just think it's a terrible move. That said, Machine Gun's given me an idea here, so I'm going to go organic and make one up on the little spot here. I don't know if I even prelude to it and take any. Let's just get to it. Call me crazy, but I think the Oilers would be absolutely insane to bridge Bouchard. Right back to you, Patrick.
It's risky for sure, because the price could go way, way up. It could work in your favor.
As the cap goes way up.
As the cap goes up, yeah, because it's just going to keep jumping here. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. Yeah, I think you want to get him on an 8-year deal, because I mean, you're not going to know about even if they do really want Rantanen, you're not going to know until July or late June anyway that you can even get him, and they might even want to get Bouchard done before the end of the year, because if Bouchard has another huge playoffs, I mean, that price is going up from that based on last year's playoffs too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they want. Well, I don't know if can they do it before the end of the year? Do you know, Ryan? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's RFA.
Yeah. Okay. I just didn't want to make sure I wasn't speaking out of turn there. Yeah, I'd say they probably want to get him done before the end of the year if they can, and to a long-term deal.
Yeah. I think the Oilers are absolutely insane if they try and bridge Bouchard. Michael, call me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to. I mean, I think it's insane to bridge them. Having said that, like, it depends on what your plans are with the team, right? Like, you have I believe every team has a limited window to win cups. And if you look at the Oilers, that limited window right now is between now and the next 3 or 4 years. In fact, it might even be the next couple of years rather. And so, if there's something, if you think Rantanen is the difference maker, right, to winning 1 or 2 more cups, then bridging Bouchard is not that crazy. I'm with you on that, Dash. I don't think Rantanen's the answer. Like, I just don't. But you look at this team and everybody's aging out, right? Like this is what if this team wins cups beyond 3 years from now, it's not the same team. right? I mean, look at Colorado, right? They got their cup and everything's, slowly going the other way. They've kind of held on. Pittsburgh did the same thing. Pittsburgh had a couple of great years and then they've held on as a decent team. But that's the only reason I would, and who knows what they have in the as an idea in terms of how to build the team. But that's the only reason I would bridge Bouchard, is if you had some great idea, some great player that's going to move the needle enough over the next couple of years to guarantee a couple more cups.
Okay, well,
Other than that, I mean, you got to go long term.
Michael Kerber is absolutely in my head tonight. So I don't know, brothers from another mother, and attaboy, Michael. Okay, so the question's been asked, what's the cap going up to? Currently in 88 million, it'll go to 95.5 million next year, 104 million in 26-27, and then to 113.5 million in 27-28. So, within 3 years, every single team in the league is going to get an extra $25 million in cap space. And then he's right in my head, Michael Kerber is. The real question is, should Bouchard sign an offer sheet, or will somebody try to RFA offer sheet him? And that was going to be my segue to Lotzi before his answer. I think the main reason that this would be absolutely insane for the Oilers is not only because will Bouchard's agent not let him be bridged again, it's because somebody will offer sheet him. With the cap going up, you got the St. Louis Blues doing what they did. You've got a team like, San Jose or Anaheim who wants a young defenseman like that to build around. Top 5 to 10 defensemen aren't available in the league very often, let alone to throw an offer sheet. Everybody knows the Oilers are cap strucken. You were talking now like he deserves 10 million, 11 easy. What happens when Anaheim or San Jose steps in and offers them 14 times whatever on an offer sheet and just gives us 3 first-round picks? That's why the Oilers are insane to try and bridge him. Lotzi, call me crazy.
I'm on the same page with you too much tonight. We're agreeing on a lot of things. But I take you back to Darnell Nurse when he signed his second bridge deal, right? And they pretty much had to do that because they couldn't make the cap work without doing that. So like with Clefbaum and all the other LTIR stuff they were going and dealing with at that time. But you don't have to make that mistake with Bouchard here, right? 25 years old, 2 more years, you walk into free agency, 2 more years, the cap's going up to $104 million and 113 the next year. Agents will look at percentage of the cap and use that as an argument to teams as to why players are going to want more and deserve more. Well, this player is signed for this percentage of the cap at that time, so my player deserves this much now. I am all for locking up young guys to 8-year deals as early as you can, right? You want to be paying them for what they're going to do in their prime, not for paying them. You don't want to pay them for past success, right? And that's what you get into with getting into you bridge Bouchard, you wait to sign him to a long-term deal. And then suddenly in the last half of that contract, you're paying him for what he used to be able to do, not for what he's doing or can do. Point. You sign him to an 8-year deal now, you've still got 8 real good years left in this guy. He'd be 33 or 34, depending on when his birthday is at the end of that contract, right? So that's just kind of the end of his prime. So yeah, get that number locked in now while the cap is still low. And I see no reason to bridge the guy right now. Like I get the argument, especially for next year, because McDavid will still be at 12.5 next year. Like I understand, but get Bouchard locked in. I'm all for. I'm thinking 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road with my team building strategy in here. So yeah, get them done.
Look, there's very, very few times I don't agree with Quaddy, but I'll read his comment here. Bush will never get a better situation than McDry. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that, and those are facts. He wouldn't sign an offer sheet. Quaddy, that makes about as much sense as Patrick and I have a hair growing contest. Like, buddy, 2 years for 16 million or 100 million for 7 years. You find me a red-blooded human on this earth that's going to walk away from $100 million contract to sign an $18 million one. I'm sorry. I don't think that's happening.
Like, you sign a bridge deal if you're in a position where you got to bet on yourself, right? How much better is Evan Bouchard going to do than a point a game as a defenseman and breaking franchise records for playoff production? How much better can he really get?
How
It's
much
like,
better
much
can
more
you
money
get than
can
a
you really
$100
earn?
million offer? Yeah, exactly, Lotsy, for sure.
It's like,
Michael,
I
you
don't,
look
I
like
don't
you
think
want to
there's
say
any
something.
reason for Bouch to bridge unless he's
I,
really
I would
committed
love
winning.
to do, guys, though. I'd love to look at any player that's been bridged and look at the 8-year contract that follows, right? Like, obviously you can't argue the Connor McDavid 8 years. You can't argue Leon Draisaitl. Those guys are elite talents, right? But, look at, Nurse's contract, right? Like the bridge and then the 8-year after. It's typically in those final years where you're saying, yeah, maybe maybe we shouldn't have gone 8. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's Bouchard, but I think you got to start. Like, I want to look at. I haven't looked at enough contracts like that, but I'd be curious how many of those contracts in the final 3 to 4 years don't look as great, right? Like, after a bridge. Now, after your entry level, best time to sign an 8-year contract if the guy looks good, right? Now one bridge, maybe one bridge not so bad. Like there's still some youth left in him. But if you sign Bouchard to 8 years, how old is he when he's done? He's 20, 33, 32, 33, I think. Right?
Yep. Not even.
I mean, I guess that's all right. I mean, when you look at Ekholm, still got lots of life in him at 34. Still, I'd be curious to look at guys that have been bridged, see what the 8-year return is on them after. And, is it better to go for like a 5-year contract and free up that otherwise good money at the end? Maybe. And now with people are getting a little creative with the deferred contracts, maybe you could give Bouchard a 5-year and do a little bit of a deferral to up it for him a little bit.
What's the age that, what's your unrestricted free agent age now?
26, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
27.
27?
And what's Bouchard right now? 24, 25?
25, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 2 more years and they could walk him to unrestricted free agency, which I'd like to have him locked up before that and beyond that.
And to our point, a 2-year bridge deal opens that door. So that is all the more reason the Oilers would be absolutely crazy to sign him to a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I can do one more if you guys are up for it.
Go for it.
I got one vote in from Patrick for yes in the private chat here. So his opinion's the only one I care about. All right, we'll switch gears a little bit. The most recent generational player, I have my quotation fingers in the air for all you listeners. Generational player rolled in, for a game. Well, I guess they didn't roll in. Edmonton rolled in for the game against Connor Bedard. I watched that first period and I was like, holy crap. Connor Bedard's way better than last year. Like, is this how he's been this year? Man, has he ever been stranded on an island? Like, Jesus, he might be a gen. He's an absolute stud superstar. Took a turn for the worse in the second period, took a couple penalties, did not look as good. It's about the 3rd or 4th game I've seen Bedard play this year. I think we did a Call Me Crazy earlier this year where I said that he'd never win a Hart Trophy. My reasons were for that. I just think Connor and Dry and Matthews and McKinnon and Makar and those guys have enough left in them before the next generation comes through. Call me crazy, but I don't think Connor Bedard is ever going to get 110 points in his career, ever in a season. Patrick, call me crazy.
I think there's a chance he does. It depends who he plays with. If he gets someone that can be a good playmaker and
Ryan Donato.
right, someone
Schlager.
better than I wouldn't say he never will, but probably not, at least for a while, until he gets some solid playmakers to play with and have like a solid line going there. But yeah, not in the near future, but I wouldn't say it's never.
All right. Patrick thinks I'm kind of crazy, but not really, Ryan. Bedard will never get 110 points. Call me crazy.
I'll finish driving the nail in the coffin for you there, Patrick. You are crazy. Had to do it once. I never thought Jonathan Huberdeau would get over that hump. I didn't think
Good point.
Gaudreau or Matthew Tkachuk would get over that hump either.
Really good point.
Right? I don't know if Tkachuk's ever gotten 110, but I didn't think he'd ever be a 100-point guy. Goal scoring is up. It's a considered effort by the league to get guys or get offense up. And I think we've seen the results of that. Players are more skilled today than ever, so we're seeing more and more of these types of guys that can break the 100-point barrier. Joe in the chat, he's 19 years old. He's got a lot of development room left. And to Patrick's point, if he ever gets some good talent beside him and around him, then who knows? So I'm not going to put it past him, but I will say that my assessment of Bedard as a prospect before he ever came into the league was fantastic player, elite player, but he doesn't. He's smart. He's got a good shot, but he doesn't have the speed of McDavid. He's not super like strong, physical, right? So I don't see him being like a all-world face of the league type of player. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, the generational tag is probably unfair to Bedard. I don't know if it was the fans or the team or whatever put maybe some undue pressure on him that wasn't needed. I don't know why, Matthews and McDavid get to be generational players, and now Draisaitl looks like one, and Bedard gets to be one. Now, of course, Gavin McKenna is going to be a generational player, and then the next year, Landon DuPont's going to be a generational player, and I don't know if it's fair to any of them, but I really feel how I feel. I think Bedard's one-dimensional. I just don't think he's that player that's the it factor, as it's been said in the chat here. He never gets 110 points, Michael. Call me crazy.
Yeah, I think he'll get 110. I mean, he's got to have players around him. Slaggert and Donato are not those players. Is he going to, win a Hart, or he's definitely never going to win a Selke. We know that, right? Like, but he could, if he had the right players, he could win a Richard. Like he's got a hell of a release. I watched him live here in Halifax in the World Juniors, and the kid can shoot. He can shoot. He can score against NHL goalies. He's got some nice plays. He's just in a bad spot. Like Chicago has done zero to get anybody with them to play, and if they can turn that around and get somebody in there to help him out, then yeah.
I don't know if you want to read that one.
No, I'm not gonna.
All right.
I'm not gonna give that any credence or anything. But yeah, it stopped me mid sentence.
You all kind of danced around it, right? Huberdeau got there once. Reaper said it in the chat. Nuge got there once. Tkachuk got there once. Everybody has their peak season. Maybe you guys are right, and Bedard does it once, but that is certainly not a generational player. That's for sure. Okay, boys, that's all I got for Call Me Crazy this week. I'll either give the reins back to Michael or, just keep talking, whatever you guys prefer.
Yeah, we should talk about this Nucks Sharks game that Quaddy's watching right now.
Or not.
Oh, man. I've pointed this out. What is Vancouver's record right now? It is. Let's go to it. It is.
Call me crazy, but if I was starting a franchise, I'd rather have the Sharks roster than the Nucks roster.
Yeah. 24-29. That's where the Canucks are. But they are officially sitting in a wild card spot after the Flames loss tonight by virtue of probably regulation wins or no points percentage. So there you go. Yeah, Canucks, awful. Sharks, uh, like Celebrini. There's a player.
Mm-hmm.
God, I love watching that kid play.
Mm-hmm.
I, they when they talked about him before he came into the league, and of course he's from BC as well. But a lot of people were saying he's better than Bedard, and I would argue that point. I would argue he's one of the better players that's going to come into the league. He'll get 110 points, and he's doing wonderful things in San Jose when he's not hurt. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Celebrini's better than Bedard, and I think McGavin McKenna will be better than Celebrini, and I think Landon Dupont will be better than all of them.
Yeah, McKenna is obviously interesting, right? Like, it's hard to the Canadian team just hasn't looked good enough but he's doing wonderful things in the dub, right? Like, didn't he just get a record for most consecutive games with a point or something like that? Anyway, good story from
Cowan, but
yeah.
McKenna turned he just turned 17, like right before the tournament, right before the World Juniors.
Yeah, but he
right.
was
And he's
awesome,
doing what he's doing.
right?
He's
Like,
doing what he's doing in the WHL. So
in fact,
yeah, he's gonna be a
there's
fun one to
talk
watch.
about utilization. If they'd utilized him more, could have been a different result at the World Juniors this year.
Yeah.
Well, if they put him on power play 1 instead of power play 2, and
Yeah, he's a hell of a
Yeah.
player. It's good. Oilers have Colorado up tomorrow, and then they are off. What is it? 2 weeks?
yeah, I think it's a 2-week tournament. Yeah.
You think? Curious, and Dash. I mean, you've been listening to us give our opinions. You think 2 weeks is good for Edmonton or bad for Edmonton?
Oh, I wasn't listening to your opinions. Is it? I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Sorry to sit on the fence, I guess, but good for the players that are banged up and need a little bit of rest. Probably good for the team to get through this flu. At the end of the day, our core is not getting 2 weeks rest. I mean, Connor's out there playing, Ekholm's out there playing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think that we're a good team. We're a veteran team. We're a team that should get to the conference finals, if not the Stanley Cup finals. And I don't really think it matters whether you have a 1-week break or a 4-week break. Just think you get back down to business.
Patrick?
I think it's coming at a good time. Just like we were talking off the top of the show, like how tired the guys looked last night. And like you mentioned, Dash, the flu's going through the team. So I think it's a good time to have a break. Like, they've won the last couple of games, but it's not like they're looking like they're firing on all cylinders or anything like that. Like, it kind of sucked when we went into the All-Star break last year when they were riding that winning streak and they just looked red hot. I'm okay with a break right now, and I think it'll be good for them overall and help them come back stronger for the second half. So I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good thing as well. Like, we always suck coming out of breaks, which is frustrating. But in the long run, it was a long and emotionally exhausting season last season, right? Especially with the Cup Finals, that 2 weeks felt like a month, and then especially Connor's the one that probably had the craziest summer with the wedding and everything, and he's going to keep playing. But for Connor McDavid, I mean, it's a 3-game round robin, then 1 or 2 playoff games, like max 5 games, maybe. Like, he'll survive. He's fine. But it is good for the boys to get a bit of a rest here in the dog days of winter and take care of their bodies a little bit and prepare themselves mentally and physically for the stretch drive and hopefully another deep playoff run.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, like, you look at 2 weeks off and you come into, what is it, a 4-game, I look at a March, 5-game road trip, right? Like, that's perfect, actually, because you're spending 2 weeks at home, you're getting all that, and then, like, I think these guys legit, like, they get a little bit stir crazy. If they stay at home too long, they need to get out on the road and get, be back as a team again, right? Have those fun times as a team out on the road. They get out on the road after 2 weeks off. Of course, McDavid will be on the road for the whole time, but you get back and and you're on the road for 5 games. It's good. And then March is another busy schedule, right? Like, this is a tough season. This might be the downside to this season for the Oilers is the way the schedule works and having 2 weeks off, everything's so condensed. This is going to be one of the
That's
hardest
for
cups
everybody.
to win. Yeah. It's going to be one of the hardest cups to win, right? And maybe Dash, like you've been talking about it, like it's one of the big things is, do we really want guys playing in the Four Nations, right? And for that reason alone, that's that'd be enough of a reason to say maybe not. I mean, guys seemingly getting hurt now all of a sudden, right? We'll see, right? What's the word on Crosby? Is he looking
Still
like
up in the air? I
ready?
think. Yeah. No, he might not play.
Mum's the word.
Yeah.
They're keeping that pretty tight-lipped. He was on the ice today, limited, but yeah, they're not saying much.
Yeah. Some stranger has a good question. So, I mean, we've had now just over a week of John Klingberg in the lineup. Some stranger says, does he have any more in him than what we've seen so far? Lotsy?
I think it would be unfair to him to say that this is his peak. 4 games. I think it's 4 games after this significant injury that he's dealt with. So I think there's a little more in him for sure. But my general impressions are kind of mixed so far. I'm excited by how dynamic he is in the offensive zone, and I'm excited by how well he moves the puck. I'm less excited by how well he moves in the defensive zone and by his agility going backwards. Like the speed needs to come back to his feet before I'm gonna be super excited about him. But I think he'll get a little bit better. But this is kind of the player we knew we were getting, right? Defensive liability and amazing on the offensive side of the puck. So it's just the defensive side has to be good enough. And like against Toronto, I think he was terrible. I didn't really notice him last night, so that's probably a good thing. He's kind of mediocre the other 2 games. So I'm willing to say that he's got a little bit more in him. But I'm on the fence right now with him.
Yeah. Dash, your thoughts so far?
He's a sneaky +3 last night. That's something to be said in a game when your team is tired. A lot of them look like they barely wanted to be there, or they had 1 foot into their vacation already. I think this is far from his peak. I think, Lotsy mentioned it, his gap control, and his, I don't know just his edge work when he's trying to turn around and catch up with a play. You can see that he's a step behind, but Ryan Lotsberg and Michael Hebert are both amazing star forwards when they play hockey, and have both on many occasions been asked to drop back and play D, as have I. And I'll tell you what, probably the hardest thing to adjust to when you drop back on D is figuring out when to make your move and when to close that gap, because man, it looks so bad when your timing is wrong and you get walked. So, as per the hockey gods provided us with Broberg and Holloway the other night, it's awful. So, I give him credit that, he's +2 so far. I think he's great at breaking out the puck, and I think his timing's only going to get better closing the gaps and in non-decision making. So I think we've far from seen his peak, and I think I'm optimistically looking forward to the future, to be honest. Patrick?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been kind of a mixed bag so far, but yeah, he's finding that timing, like Dash said there, and I think he's really going to be at his best come playoff time, when he's had some couple months to get into it. And I mean, he's missed the whole season. He was skating, but skating and playing in NHL games are 2 completely different things. And he's been a mixed bag so far, but I don't think anyone could expect him to be incredible so far. I think we definitely are going to see much better out of him in the games to come. So yeah, I think he's got way more to go before he hits his peak, and I think he's going to be at his best in the playoffs when we need him to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard that interview. Sorry, Michael, I know I'm cutting in, but did you hear that little short of that interview that Jason Demers did talking about playing with Klingberg and just like when he battled through those playoff and was with Dallas, and potentially still their best player in those playoff runs. Apparently Demers said like he was in an incredible amounts of pain, like every single period off, every single in between games was nothing but trying to get those hips going and trying to keep the pain out of his hips. I mean, if he could play like that and be a warrior like that through that kind of pain, and now he's saying this is the best he's ever felt, let's see it.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what we expected, right? Like he's $1.7 million contract guy that Oilers got for nothing, right? Yeah. Like he's playing above what we're paying him and what we got him for. So I'll take it. And the only thing that I kind of notice is like he's and you talked about it, Dash, his timing's a little off. Like I notice he'll be going for the breakout and then he'll turn back because he just doesn't, but having said that, like I respect the fact that he's turning back and not making the wrong play.
It's the fastest game on earth.
Yeah. But once he gets that timing out, and he just doesn't make, like he doesn't give the puck away, which I respect, right? Like he'll go, if he's not feeling it, he always turns back. Usually makes the cross ice pass to the far side, and it's a good breakout. Like it's he's been good. I mean, he hasn't been super noticeable, like you said, Lotsy, right? Like he's going in, and that's exactly what the Oilers have needed, right? And we had two guys that we weren't sure about in Stetcher and Emberson, although Emberson's been, I think, a highlight for the Oilers in terms of what we didn't know about him. I think he's played really well.
Yeah, he had CC's skates to fill, and I think that's a lot of pressure, and he's done just fine with it. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, like I'm not upset with where the defense is right now. I mean, how could you be, right? Like defensively, this team's doing really well, right? And I think it kind of rises and falls though on how you feel Nurse's game is going, right? Like Nurse is has been the question mark in years past, and this year he's not a question mark. And if he's on, like Kulak can play, in the second line D, or he can play in the bottom two, right? Like it's and he's got some value, and of course, I always love playoff Kulak, so this is good. I like having Klingberg there. Like he's just going to get better.
I got a question for you guys. Given this, minimal sample size, yes, but Klingberg looking like he may fit in, and a scratch ticket that's going to pay off, if you will. Apparently we turned our nose to the side when Brandon Saad wanted $1.5 million, and I alluded to it earlier. Maybe it's because of the organization's confidence in Jeff Skinner's development. What do you think our priority is at the trade deadline now, Lotsy?
I was planning to do a little more research on this in the coming weeks, but I said it earlier in the season too. We're one of the best defensive teams in the league, right? And if the defensive metrics are in our favor, where we're falling a little short compared to our standard is finishing, goal scoring. There's a huge drop off between Connor and Leon, and then your next best forward this year. It's kind of back to the way it was in their younger days, which we have a better, higher quality team around them now, but just the point scoring structure looks similar. Two guys doing a lot of the heavy lifting and some other guys not living up to expectations. So especially if you want to look at the center deployment like we looked at it last night, it was Connor, Leon, Nuge, Henrik, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you need another left wing. Right, Nugent Hopkins, I'm sorry, just hasn't brought it this year. He hasn't worked on that top line. He's not producing up to his usual standard. And similar to him and Henrique, like I like either one, six of one, half dozen of the other as the third line center. But I think you want an upgrade on either one of them at the top line left wing spot. I don't know if Arvidsson's that guy. We were just talking about him earlier, thinking that we can scratch him. He's a natural right winger, and they're trying him on the left side right now. You could maybe try Hyman on the left side, but then you need a right winger. And if you're not happy with Arvidsson, then where do you go? External.
All right. Interesting answer. Ryan Lotsberg, you put some goddamn respect on Zach Hyman's name. He's got 19 goals and he's 3 behind Connor McDavid. So I'll have you put all that.
How many points you got there, Dash?
Hey, put the puck in the net. Yeah, 81, 71, and then maybe some lower numbers after that. But ultimately, look, if we're talking about what you're talking about, we're talking about secondary scoring. And if we're talking about secondary scoring, what does playoff Arvidsson actually look like? Boys, let me ask you this. What does playoff Jeff Skinner look like? That guy's going to be shot out of a cannon. Never played a playoff game. Evander Kane's coming back. We've kind of got some secondary scoring in the wings. Waiting in the wings. On the wings. You can never have enough defense. I'm just guiding some 50-50 answers here, but I don't know. What do you think our priority is, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. You can't have enough D. I mean, you got to, if anything, you maybe add a D man, somebody, if you can get a big guy, right? Like somebody that can make people hurt in the corner. I think that's good. And I'd say the same goes for the top, for the front of the house, right? Like, if we can get, a big sort of gritty guy that can play, like, I don't think this team needs more top 6 guys. I think it's overloaded with top 6 guys that just don't have enough time on the top 6, right? Like that aren't playing there consistently enough to do really well, right? Like Jeff Skinner, I agree. In the playoffs, he could just take a tear. We need a guy that's going to piss some people off, right? Like we need a guy that's going to do some hits. We talked about this before. I don't think we need a whole team of that, but it would be nice to have one guy.
You want 2022 Evander Kane.
Yeah. Like we expect it's going to be Evander Kane. But I wouldn't put my faith in that. So add somebody at the deadline if you can. I'm not convinced Arvidsson's the answer on this team. I think Jeff Skinner will show up when he's needed if they can, if he's consistent there and Knobloch decides that he can play there. I think that goal last night was out of this world, right? Like that goal to me just solidified it for me that we need him in the top 6, right? Like that. There's only a couple players on this team that do that goal outside of Draisaitl and McDavid. It's Jeff Skinner, Zach Hyman, and maybe Nuge, but everybody else misses that, right, half the time. So, I'd like to see, I keep saying like, Lumberg or whatever, but like a player like that in the bottom 6, I'd love to see somebody who could really mix it up.
Yeah, I think if I had my first choice, it's probably, and maybe Quaddy said it, a player like Alexiak or a Parayko or in his, whatever the. There's a few guys out there like that.
Alexiak would look great on this team, wouldn't he? Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm still not really sure what our priority is, and there's a bunch of people that think it still might be goaltending. I know we don't agree with that, but Patrick, what do you think the priority is?
I think they're looking to add top 9 and then a depth defenseman. I was just wondering about a deal with Chicago.
Seth Jones.
Do you think Chicago would do like Ryan Donato and Connor Murphy or something like that? Like a package deal?
Tommy brought up Seth Jones on the oil stream yesterday.
Yeah.
I
was thinking like Donato is a UFA coming up and he's only making $2 million. And Connor Murphy's got 2 years at 4.4. If Chicago holds, I don't know how many retention spots they have, but if they could hold on both those guys, or at least one of them, might be something they could It obviously all depends on Evander Kane, whether he's coming back or not. But I don't know. But yeah, I think overall they're looking for a top 9, add some secondary scoring. We know they were in on Drew O'Connor before he went to Vancouver last week. And I think just a depth guy. I don't think they're looking top 4, probably like a number 5 guy on defense. But yeah, to Michael's point, yeah, someone with size either on defense or in the top 9 would definitely be huge.
I mean, if we're looking at, bottom 6 forwards and depth defensemen, then I guess this is the team we're taking, right? This is what we're banking on. I guess it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I don't know if there's any blockbusters left. I don't know if we find another Ekholm somehow. I mean, if that's out there, God bless him. But it's going to be tough to pull that off with the assets we have and the ability of being able to move what we have.
And there is still the mystery of Evander Kane, right? Like, I know my prediction. I think I have my gut feeling on what's going to happen, but I think the team is still operating as if he will return, and they don't really know yet. So they got to wait till closer to the deadline to really find out. We were talking about it off the top a little bit. Bowman was supposed to find out more about Kane before the Four Nations, which we're basically there now. So hope maybe Bowman will get an update on Kane. I don't think we're going to get that update, but the trade line will tell us a lot.
Yeah.
I love Alex Tuck, Michael's suggestion.
Tuck would be a nice ad.
Yeah.
Good middle 6 guy.
Yeah.
Can't see that happening though.
Probably not. But.
No. Like, I mean, there's obviously he's from Buffalo, right? Like he's one of their sort of popular players for that reason, right? And they need all the good news stories they can get in Buffalo, right? Like not much to celebrate, but celebrate somebody local, right?
He's got another year left on his deal too, so
yeah,
another year at 4.75. That'd be palatable, but again, like that's a tough one to move. Yeah, from a PR perspective, you're totally right. Like that's he's a fan favorite there for sure.
Yeah, they were cheering in the streets when he came back. And they're, like I said, they got not much to cheer about, but that's one thing. Yeah. I'm curious though what Buffalo does like in the deadline. I mean, at some point this team's got to put something together. It just doesn't seem imminent. It's like, wow, I don't know. I mean, you can't get. I'm rooting for Buffalo every year. I think 3 out of the last 5 years, I thought it would be their year to make it into the playoffs, and
I can really see Buffalo and Calgary looking like good trade partners. I think like the way that Calgary plays and that hard-nosed style, there's the Tucks and the Cousins, and I think guys that would fit right in there. And Rasmus Anderson's going to go somewhere in the East.
yeah.
Is he?
Didn't they say they were keeping him?
Sounds like they're interested in keeping him now.
Yeah.
Is that? Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. But,
yeah, I mean,
Good way to drive up the price.
That's true too. Yeah.
not that I really care, but
Hold on.
Holy crap, guys! Like we made it 90 minutes, and we're about 2 minutes away from calling it a night already. Just time flew tonight. Talking Oilers hockey. Let's talk quickly. We're going to be off air on Edmonton Sports Talk. I would just want to say thank you to Edmonton Sports Talk and the guys who are going to be playing against us in the Heavy Hockey Showdown, March 15th. Player registrations are full. So if you didn't get in, there's always next year. But that's exciting. Make sure you find Lotsy's fundraising. I'm fundraising. Dash will be fundraising. We're all fundraising. Make sure you find somebody on the Heavy Hockey Showdown to donate some money to the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. $97 is all it takes for 1 hour of free counseling for somebody who is a victim of sexual violence. Let's run it down, just kind of give your ideas in terms of how the game's going to go tomorrow night, what you think, and then Dash, take us into the break, I guess, tonight. Lotsy, thoughts, Colorado, Edmonton, and what you see happening over the break in the Four Nations.
Yeah, I think we'll go into the break on a high note. We'll beat the Avs. And Four Nations, I think this is the States' tournament to lose. I think they're loaded. Even if they don't have Quinn Hughes, I still think they're the best team. I hate to say it. I obviously want Canada to win. But yeah, I think it's the States.
Yeah. Patrick?
I'm going to go with a win tomorrow night, too. I think they want to go out on a high note before the break. I'm going to call Jeff Skinner to score another goal tomorrow night. He wants to keep going. So, yeah, I'm calling a win over Colorado. Probably have to go with Lotsy. It's probably the States tournament to lose, but obviously cheering for Canada the whole way. And when you got Connor McDavid and hopefully Sidney Crosby, you definitely can't count a team out. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but obviously be cheering for Canada all the way.
Yeah. So normally we'd be on Wednesday nights. I don't know what we're going to do because Canada's playing next Wednesday, so we'll figure that out. But we will be back on next week, whether it's Tuesday or Thursday. We'll figure it out.
Watch party.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. I kind of think Edmonton will do just fine against Colorado tomorrow. I think Draisaitl is just the right kind of asshole that he wants to be stats leader, so I think he's going to come out and want to play, and end on a high note, right? Like these guys, they're going to take a couple weeks off, and let's see, see what we have before the break, and it'd be nice. I think the Oilers will do just fine. Four Nations, yeah, you're right. Like Lotsy, U.S. has got a good team. I think depending on whether Crosby plays or not, like the leadership on the Canadian team is, the skill and the leadership there is going to be hard to beat. But it's one of those tournaments that's kind of anybody's tournament, I think, and it'll probably come down to goaltending as it usually does. So we'll see. I'm just not as excited as I thought I would be. When they first announced it, I was super pumped, but I'm hoping that at some point, I get I remember the days of the Canada Cup, like that was fun to watch. I really hope Crosby plays because I just want to see him and McDavid play a couple games together, pass the puck, make some beautiful goals, and watch that live and say I did at some point 20 years from now. That's all I got. Dash, close it up for us tonight.
Final word. It's going to be short. It's going to be to the point. You three are crazy. You're all crazy. Not me. You're crazy. I disagree with all of you. I think that the Oilers probably have at least 1 foot into vacation. They're the type of team that just kind of does take these nights off. I think success has been going well. I don't think it really hurts them either way. And I think the most interesting game being played will not be the Oilers versus Colorado. I think it'll be Nathan McKinnon versus Leon Draisaitl. That in itself, I think, will be a battle, but may only be 2 of the 4 players playing on the ice. The Four Nations Cup, I've made my point pretty clear on how I feel about this tournament. I've been called a lot of names on Twitter. You guys have called me crazy. I think who's winning the Four Nations Cup is probably Russia. Good night, everybody.
Oilerslive